shut the door. It isn't usual to read a B-107 to its subject, Palmer, but I'm going to put you straight. Insubordinate, insolent, a trickster, perhaps with criminal tendencies.
Yes, that's a pretty fair appraisal, sir.
Good. That last quality might be useful. But if I have any trouble with you, Palmer, I shall bite you, Palmer. And I shall bite you so hard you'll go right back to where Ross found you.
What happened there? Something just passed us. And it was a van. I won't let it happen again. Okay.
Say, my name's Harry.
I'm Jock.
Hi.
Hello.
Is that his bird?
Oh, no.
Oh. That parade ground manner of his doesn't work with women. They won't do anything by number.
Oh, he's been giving you the treatment, eh?
I'll say.
No, he does that to everyone. Still, he's not a bad bloke, really. His bark's much worse than his bite.
But the point is I want to live in the Beverly, Wiltshire for the first bit. Mm-hmm. But when I come back to Los Angeles, I want a house with a small swimming pool. And when I said a swimming pool, you know, I don't want, you know, like Shirley MacLaine's. Ever tell it?
No.
With Shirley MacLaine, I was making a picture with him. We went to a dinner for Prince Philip, and I brought home about 3 o'clock in the morning. And we looked at the house, and there was all steam coming up behind the house.
Yeah.
And she said, Christ, she said, I left the swimming pool on.
Come in, Palmer.
Sergeant Palmer reporting as ordered, sir.
Close the door, Palmer. Doesn't hurt under there, does it?
All over the place, he hurt.
Does it?
Yes.
Does it pinch these things?
Yes, very much.
A little bit. So it looks great.
Very often I read in the newspapers about what a great life movie actors have. They stay out all night drinking and having a great time. I never read anything about any work that actors do. In actual fact, we work very, very hard, I think. For instance, I'll give you for instance, the time, today is a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday in January, very miserable day. It's 10:25. Now, Tony, just pan round, and this is my lounge on a Tuesday morning in January. I had a farewell party last night because I'm going away, and that's the first party I've been to in months, and this is what's happening to me on a Tuesday morning in January. Now, this is my first holiday for 4.5 years. And admittedly, I don't have to do this. I mean, people from the television didn't force their way in. I was just trying to point out that in actual fact, an actor is never on holiday. And we have to do the publicity and everything, which is not a bad chore, considering we get overpaid a fortune. But we'd never keep it anyway. I don't know why I started on this morning. I guess I got out of bed the wrong side. But what it was is yesterday I read an article about myself called How Michael Caine Gets the Girls. You know, how Michael Caine gets the girls. What time do I have to get any girls? If you have any, send them along. All right?
observed was of the Evening Standards here.
Well, how are you? Nice
Oh,
to
well
see you
done.
again.
You all right?
You well? Yes, thank you.
Italian job.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Sit down.
As a British actor and star, are you pleased to be going to Hollywood again? Does America and Hollywood impress you?
I like
Signs of achievement. Yeah.
Well, I like America because of the attitude towards success. If you're somebody successful, I don't mean necessarily an actor, but supposing you're a rich businessman, very wealthy, the attitude that differs is in America, someone will see you who hasn't got much money, and they'll say, he did it, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
In England, they see you and they say, he's rich, wait till we tear him down and make him as poor as us. The whole attitude is different. Their idea is to everybody try and be as rich as the guys who are rich.
Yeah.
Here, everybody says, "Oh, wait till the revolution comes, you know. But my view with the revolution is that, you know, the capitalist dustman of today, when the revolution comes, will be a communist dustman. This is my view of it.
Yeah.
I'd be a Russian artist, third class. I don't think I could make the other classes because I don't do enough classics.
But on the whole, you would come out for the capitalist kind of success system.
Oh,
really.
yeah,
Yes.
fantastic. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Because it's completely selfish and hypocritical. You get masses of loot, loads of luxury goods to buy, fantastic life, big mansions, great big cars. I think all that is lovely. I recommend it to anybody.
No, that'll do me.
Hey.
Oh, that's not bad.
I don't
Oh,
think
no.
so.
Vine Street, come on.
That's it.
And if you've got a double,
I've
will you
got a
please
double,
throw
I've
it
got
in
a double.
and land on where you was born again. Come on.
The old Kent Road. No.
Yes. Yes.
You know, I only
no.
figured out what that meant the other day. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, you don't collect your
I don't get the £200 for going round the corner. It's even.
Did you leave it?
Do you want a hand, Ma? Want to come in? No?
Oh, I've got
No?
one.
Go on.
No.
You sure?
Leaving it at the main.
Oh,
Are you really sure?
yeah. Oh,
Well, because the television's not on. You want the television on?
no. Oh, come on, Clay.
All right.
It's
I've
on
got a
your
set.
house.
I've got houses on it. I'm not worried whether anybody makes a deal. I'm not prepared to make a deal with anybody to let them in.
Okay. I see.
Right, that is the
In other
whole.
words, your real true nature is coming
My
out on
true
this
nature
game.
will come out in Monopoly.
Piccadilly.
Piccadilly. Me. £22.
Oh, blimey. That's £22 3 and 6 because I saw her play dirty the other night, innit?
Think.
I thought that happened before.
10.
Is it a strain to live up to the image of Michael Caine, film star,
No,
in
no.
Hollywood?
No, not at all. Because the image that I have is something that wasn't built by me. And if you don't tell any lies, you don't have to remember anything. And that's where the strain comes in. That's where they all break down. For me, I live my life exactly as I want to, by my own rules and own standards. And I let the image fall where it may. And it fell in a way slightly untruthfully with the sort of girl thing of chasing around after girls. Who was it once said that? Frank Sinatra said, if I'd been with all the girls they said I'd been with, I would now be speaking to you from a jar in the Harvard Medical Laboratory, which is true. You know, this is how I feel about it. This is how I feel about Frank Sinatra. But mainly, the main thing that strikes me, I read my own image in the papers, you see, to find out if it's true. And one of the complimentary things people say about me is that I am honest with people, and I am. I regard that as one of my great conceits, is that I'm a completely honest man, so I never try to fool anybody. So there's never any strain with me, you see, and I'm quite prepared tomorrow not to be a movie star, and I wouldn't cry for one moment. I would be something else. I'd be a writer, I think.
Do you wonder why writer particularly? Do you see writing a film, for example?
Yeah, I've always been very interested in writing. If you read the scripts, a lot of the scripts that I read, even some that I make, you will find that it's very easy to read a script and say, well, I could do something better than that. Possibly you can't, but I do feel that I can write as badly as most of the scripts that I receive. I can do a rotten job just as well as they can. I like to work with professionals. I know there are some people who are young geniuses and all that, but those geniuses are usually geniuses at everybody else's expense. I'm not interested in a flash-in-the-pan genius. I'm a professional actor, have been for a long time, and hope to continue.
Is this a promotion, sir?
Sort of.
Any more money?
Let's see. You're on 1,300 pay and allowances.
Yes, sir.
I'll try and get you 1,400.
Oh, thank you, sir. Now I can get that new infrared grill.
Well, save your money. Where you're going, you won't have much time for cooking. Dolby works his men, and he doesn't even have my sense of humor.
Yes, sir. I will miss that, sir.
People do recognize you quite a lot, but the majority of people are very polite. And there's also a thing of sort of friendship, but mostly it's amusing, really, because if you get recognized often enough, things fall into certain patterns. Like if I'm walking along a street, there are always two girls together. And as I go by, there's a sort of period of shock when nothing happens. And then one says, "Here, did you see who that was?" And the other one says, "No." She says, "Well, it was him, you know." And she says, "Who was it?" She says, "You know, Michael Craig." And which is not my name anyway, you know. And it's, no, not Michael Craig, Michael Caine. That's who it was. And she says, "No." And then they double back. And then they come round again. And this time, they're looking dead ahead because they know what they're up to, you see. And they're looking dead ahead as I approach them, but they don't know that I've already seen them go round. They'll cross the road and scoot along the other side. And then they walk past me at such tremendous speed, determined not to look at me, that then, and when they get by, you hear them say, "See, I told you it was him." And the other one said, "Well, I didn't bleed and see." I tell you what gets you with the Hollywood thing, with the glamour of it, is that all your life, like John Wayne, say. I've been seeing John Wayne pictures for years. Cockney kid at the Elephant, going to see John Wayne. And then one day, I was walking through the Beverly Hills Hotel lobby, and a helicopter came down outside, and it was John Wayne coming back from location. And he came into the Beverly Hills Hotel lobby with the full sort of Hondo kit on, you know, with that sideways walk. And he saw me, and I was getting a massive publicity. And they're always very nice to youngsters in Hollywood. They give you advice. And he saw me, and he said, "Kid?" And I said, "Yes, Mr. Wayne." He said, "I just got a piece of advice to you." He said, "You're doing well." So I said, "Yes, Mr. Wayne." He said, "Well, if you want to last in this business, talk low and talk slow." He stood me in good stead. "Goodbye, kid." And he hit me on the arm. I nearly fell over because he's about this big, you see. And that was John Wayne. I never met him before. He just recognized me.
I originally started out in life called Maurice Micklewhite. I was walking around wondering what to do, and I saw a film, The Caine Mutiny. When I came out, I thought, there's a great idea. Call yourself Michael Caine. Well, I was born in St Olive's Hospital in Rotherhithe, which is a sort of section, a dock section, just past Bermondsey. My father was a Billingsgate Fish Market porter, but at that time he was out of work. There was a big slump at the time, and I lived in a little street in Camberwell, a street called Irwin Street. This was a two-roomed, and this was a tap and the toilet were right downstairs, and there was a family on each floor. There were 4 families, we were 3 floors up.
Maurice Micklewhite, are you?
Yes, I am.
No. Oh my God, aren't you like your father? Just spit out of his mouth.
Because I didn't think anybody would be left down here who
Oh, yeah, I'm about the oldest, Maurice.
Yes. You're
Yes,
the oldest.
I'm about the oldest.
The people over the road there are all different. I was just talking to them.
Yes, I know. Because, as I say, your mother and I were very good friends.
Yes, you were,
And your
indeed.
dear old father.
Yeah.
The times we used to pick up old Mrs. Faulkner.
Yeah.
You remember
Anyway,
those
yeah,
times,
I remember.
don't you,
I do,
boy?
yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
And I'm about the only one that does that
Yeah.
when I hear anybody say anything,
Yes.
I say you can't tell me. This old girl knows. Anyway, your mother tells me that you're very good to her. God
Well,
bless you, my boy.
Thank you very much.
And I mean that.
Thank you.
boy.
Bye-bye, Mrs. Kettle.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, lovely.
God bless you.
Recollections of this time are sort of very vague. The first big recollection of my life, the first big thing that happened, was when the war came, which was when I was 6. I was given some sandwiches and a gas mask, a Mickey Mouse gas mask. Then I was evacuated to Norfolk with my mother, a little village called North Runcton near King's Lynn. And that was one of the happiest times of my life.
This is the house I used to live in. It's not changed very much. The house is still exactly the same. And there were 6 families of us lived in here, each with 2 rooms. There were no fathers, they were all in the army. And we all lived in there, a mother and a family, with a living room and a bedroom each. We were always them there Vaccaree children. We were murder, real murder. We'd been cooped up in Bermondsey, and suddenly we had all these fields to run into, and there were apples on trees instead of in shops. One's always reading books about the sort of rustic, rumbustious sensuality and rolls in the hay and all that sort of thing. And there was a tremendous amount of that going on, as I remember. I remember, as far as this subject was concerned, of course I wasn't an expert, but I sort of became very aware at a very early age. And although I never, of course, did anything very rustic or rumbustious myself, I did fall in love. I fell madly in love with 2 very nice girls who I used to go blackberrying with on the common. And they were twins, Jean and Daphne Barrett. Sort of looking at things and thinking of eventual life. Say, psychiatrically, you see, Jean and Daphne Barrett started me off in a very innocent way.
We used to have to go over to get for medicine, didn't we? You know, for the school. Do you remember that? We all used to have to go.
Medicine, what was that? That was...
For the war, during the wartime, we used to have to go and get medicine, to make medicine with these blackberries and rose hips.
The
and
rose hip syrup.
For me, the country was a fabulous place, and it was a bit like being Huckleberry Finn.
Hello, Mrs. Mallows.
Hello, Mike.
How are you?
Nice to
Lovely
meet you.
to see you.
Yes, that's nice to see you.
How have you been?
Oh, I've been keeping fine.
Have you been keeping fine?
Yes. Oh,
Mum sends her love.
Yes, well, I'm pleased. I wanted to have a talk with you about Mum.
Did you?
Yes. Well, I wrote to her and to you.
Did you?
Yes.
Did she write?
I don't reckon the letters only went as far as Lynn because I didn't know your address. So I put on what I thought, hoping by putting what I did on the envelope, they would sort of say, well, we've heard about Michael Caine and that sort of thing. And But I reckon they only got as far as Lynn and they came back again. So I've got them here.
Yes.
I saved them all this time, thought, well, perhaps somehow or other I should get them to him.
Well, why don't I take them back with me?
Well, you can. One is for you and one is for your mother. Yes. I've got all your cuttings out of the newspapers. And,
did you?
Yes, and any advertisements of you.
Yeah.
I saved them all.
What I'm going to do in the summer
Yes.
is, when it gets a bit warmer, you know, because it's not too good now,
No.
is in the summer, I'll bring my mother back.
Yes, do.
And come down and have some tea one
Yes,
afternoon. Because
I'd
it
be
only takes
pleased.
about... You'd be okay, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, of course it would. I'd
Because-
only be too pleased to have her. Yes,
Okay,
certainly.
lovely. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Right.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye then. See you
Pleased
later
to
on.
seeing you.
Bye-bye
Yes.
then. Bye.
I shall see you again then.
Okay, love.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye all for the moment.
I went to the school which was actually attached to my house, which is a tiny little school.
27 years ago, I was an infant in this classroom. I had a teacher called Miss Linton, who was a fantastic woman. She had a very novel way of teaching us mathematics. She taught us how to play poker over in her house across the green there. But she wouldn't allow us to gamble. We played for matchsticks, and then the one with the most matchsticks at the end got a prize, and she said that wasn't gambling. Gambling was where you risked money and was evil. She was also the first person for whom I felt a mutual respect was between two people, in as much as my parents respected me as much as parents respect a small child. But I always figured I was a little smarter than everybody around me. That may sound conceited, but that's how I felt, so that's that. Until I met Miss Linton. I'd met people who were smarter than me, but they never respected me. But Miss Linton was the first person who was smarter than me, who respected me, and whom I respected. And I think there's a very important point in my life, to find someone who was smarter than me and didn't look down on me. Because there was also a sort of class thing in this. She was a true eccentric, but like true eccentrics, she was honest and she was sincere and she had some heart. And I'll always remember this woman, and really I'll always love her memory.
I was in the country from 6 till 12, which I think is a marvellous time for a kid to run free. But when I was 12, I came back to the city and start really finding out what life is like. And I found out very fast back in Camberwell. Near where I lived, in sort of servicing a whole area which was Walworth, which included sort of Elephant and Castle, which is rather like the Lower East Side of New York, or Menilmontant in Paris, was Clubland, which was run by a Methodist preacher called Reverend Butterworth.
He used to hang around the theatre door and break the rule that nobody went in there unless they're rehearsing. We have our own theatre, you know, and we have a rule that nobody acts on it, excepting our own members, because it was built for the self-expression of members and not for anybody else's display. Well, this boy was always trying to get in there and watch them. The number of times I cleared him out are innumerable. And then one day he said, do you think I could have a part on there? And we were at that time doing Are You Are, I think. And sure, as soon as he got up there, I thought, there's something.
As an actor, I've traveled in many, many countries in the world and worked in many countries in the world, been interviewed by, I should say, the press of every nation. And the one question that they always ask me, and which seems to interest people the most, is, where did you start? Where, for the very first time, did you go onto a stage and perform in front of an audience? Well, here, right here, is where I started. The very first time, at the age of 14, I came on to this stage to do a play called Rossum's Universal Robots, which was a Czechoslovakian play by Karel Čapek. And I remember I got very good reviews for this play. Everybody thought I was marvelous in this play, but what I must point out is what I was playing was a robot, completely stiff, expressionless, with a flat voice, and I came on, and of course I was really, really right in the part. I've been accused of it since in reviews, but it's always been an accusation. Also, this place, this same hall, is where we used to hold the dances on a Saturday night. And I also remember very vividly, this was the first place where I ever held a girl very close to dance with. If you see the photographs of me outside when I was 14, you realize how few dances I got. And just how exciting it was for me, the first dance I did get. And the first dance I got was from the most beautiful girl in the club, and her name was Amy Hood.
Yes, I knew Mike very well. I taught him to dance, really. He was a skinny schoolboy with a mop of hair, fair hair. We used to go to the pictures. This is one thing we had in common. We were both mad about pictures. I used to take jam sandwiches with me straight from school, and we'd stay right to the end of the films.
I don't think I have an ideal type of girl. I think it's a girl that might appeal to me. I'm like everybody else. I change as I go along in life. I mean, I used to think a 16-year-old schoolgirl in a pudding basin hat was great, but it's because when I was 15, and the psychiatrists tell me that when I'm 60, I should think the same. But I'm mainly interested in women, not girls. I'm interested in beautiful women. By that I mean not the modelly type. My idea of beauty is rather strange, and could be anybody except that sort of the toothpaste girl. You know, that everything's absolutely in dead formation. I like a girl who is extremely intelligent. That's because I like to learn, not because I consider I am. And I also like a girl with a sense of humour. I think one of the most sensual things about a woman is if you find a beautiful woman who can make you laugh. I've always found that very exciting. But not if they keep laughing.
But you must be a rather self-contained man. You know, I think you are a self-contained, rather self-disciplined man in a lot of ways.
All the discipline for me comes from within inside myself and never from outside. I take no notice of anybody, governments, offices, even parking meter attendants. Just because they got a hat on. You know, those men, they always have a hat. And they were always in the army one time.
My national service is exactly what it sounds like. Is I was called up very reluctantly. I went to Germany, where I was in the Queen's Royal Regiment for a year, in which I did the minimum possible. When there was a regiment called the Royal Fusiliers in Germany, which was going to go to Korea, and a lot of us were transferred from other regiments. And I remember marching through the city, and when we in the city of London is a place called Billingsgate Market, which is the fish market where my father worked as a porter. And when I was marching at the head of the company, being one of the tallest, and as we got down by Billingsgate Fish Market, my father was there with about 300 porters geeing me up as I marched by, because all Billingsgate Fish Market porters are ex-infantry. This was one of the sort of proudest moments in my life, because one, my father had been a soldier, and I was emulating him for the first and only time in my life. And for the second, I was proud because I didn't know what I was marching to. As a matter of fact, I think the British Army would have been better off without me. I was a bit of a problem the whole way. And if ever the British Army is thinking of calling me up again, apart from anybody attacking this country, when I would be the first there, because I'm a very English man, I'm not interested in fighting or killing.
Do you have a chip on your shoulder?
I suppose I still have a small chip. I used to have a great big block of wood on my shoulder about class and being a Cockney, little of which over the past few years has been disappearing. It's not entirely disappeared. But what made me think in terms of just how Cockneys are, I liken them to the Negro, is that what made me think of it was I was talking to Quincy Jones on the phone about Cockney rhyming slang, because he was writing the music to the Italian Job and wanted a song. And he'd never heard of this, and then he made a whole investigation into the Cockney rhyming slang, and then he rang me, and he said, "Listen, man," he said, "you're all spades, the Cockneys," he said. He said, "You're the only people over here with soul talk," which is, in a way, true. It's minorities have their own language, and I regard the Cockney has always been the equivalent of the American Negro, and I base that on the jobs that one gets. You hear, say, West Indians here saying they can't get a good job. They say, well, you say, well, what sort of jobs do you do? They say, well, we're lift attendants. We work on the buses as conductors and drivers. We work down the tube. We sweep the streets. We're toilet attendants. Well, those are all the jobs that everybody's father I knew did. And for me, we weren't kept down by the Ku Klux Klan or tremendous physical brutality the way the Negro was, say, in America. We were kept down by the original geniuses of brainwashing, which was the British aristocracy, who taught us it was ignoble to be poor, and they taught us with the help of religion. It was noble to be poor, and the meek shall inherit the earth. You know, the piece of earth that the meek inherit is 6 feet by 4. That's the bit the meek inherit, as far as I'm concerned. And I feel, the only bitterness I feel, is that my ancestors, whoever they may be, because I'm not that illustrious to know, have had the biggest con job pulled on them for 1950 years, right up to the opening of Look Back in Anger. That's where I see it finished. And that's why how all these sort of nouveau riche, creepy people like me have crept in. And they say, isn't it disgusting that someone with an accent like that has all that money? You can hear this. I've even overheard it and had it said to me sometimes when people had a few beers. Because the whole connotation of class here is in the mind. And the working class are just as bad, because they talk about real ladies. You know, what the hell's a real lady? You know? Some duchess had up for divorce or something. That's a real lady, because she talks properly. For me, I think it's the biggest con job, and I think I shall retain the chip, because while I can do my best to change what is, I can't change the other 1950 years, and it's a source of frustration to me. And the Cockneys still have it, in as much as when I said I want to go and be an actor, they said, who do you think you are? As though anything to do with anything that wasn't sweeping the streets or handing out the towels in a toilet was some sort of privileged occupation. This is a theatre called the Arcadia in Lowestoft, and about 15 years ago I was here in repertory. I was what is called the juvenile lead, and I got here somewhere between £5, starting at £5, rising to about, I should think, about £7.15, £8. The plays we did here, you would never have heard of. They were written by anybody from anywhere. But we used to do quite good business, and I must say it taught me a great deal about theatre playing. But somehow or other, repertory seems to have died. And this place today is a bingo hall. The first week I was here, I only had a small part, so I came on in a suit, did my part and went off. Second week, I had about 4 changes. So I went off and came on again, still in the same suit from last week. And I came on twice in the first act, still in the same suit. And Jackson Stanley came round and he said, why didn't you change in the last act? I said, into what? He said, well, different suit. He said, it's 3 weeks later and you're in town instead of in the country. He said, you're supposed to change. And I said, well, I haven't got a suit. I said, I've only got 1 suit. It was here, too, for me, a personal thing, that I met the lady who was to become my ex-wife, eventually. And she was the leading lady. And as I was a juvenile lead, of course, I never spoke to the leading lady. There's a very definite caste system, especially if you were new. If you were new, it meant you couldn't act, no matter where you'd been before, and I'd already been in rep a year or so. But I could speak to the juvenile leading lady, whose name was Jean Marlowe.
I was about the worst in the company, and I was jolly glad when Michael turned up, because he was even worse than me.
One day, they had a party at her flat, and she shared this flat with the leading lady. And I went to this party, and I got talking to the leading lady, really, for the very first time. I'd been in the company 3 or 4 or 5 months, never said a word to her except good morning. I got talking to her. 3 weeks later, I was married to her in a registry office here. A few more weeks later, I decided I was ready to conquer London and to take care of my financial responsibilities. So I went to London, fell flat on my face, didn't take care of my financial responsibilities. I was divorced 3 years later and out of work for 10 years.
Well, I did a mass of television, 125 in all, 35 films in about 300 plays in 10 years, but I was still out of work a tremendous amount of the time. Then I got a very cushy number. I went and worked in a jewel box factory called Sangster's, in parenthesis, Westminster.
But, you know, when he was working, he was always miles away, you know, dreaming what he was going to be and what he wasn't going to be. And we used to think it was a bit,
We
you
used
know,
to think he was a
cranky.
nutcase, didn't we? Let's face it.
Well, he was very boyish looking, you know. Not lovely Uncle Man he is now, you know. I mean, he's real... Would have fell for him then.
Is there a chance that Michael Caine, actor, will go back to the theatre?
One of my main views of the theatre is an extremely practical one, is that if, so I was ask you, how would you like to take an 8,000% cut in salary? It's a hell of a cut and it goes very deep. I remember once a very famous theatre company offering me an international tour of, I think it was Henry V, you know, which was very artistic, and I was very flattered. And I went and spoke to the man, and he said, well, of course, you know, theatre doesn't pay anywhere near like films. And I said, well, no, of course not. I don't expect that. So I said, but how much does it pay? He said, £25 a week. So I said, well, forget it. I said, because all I, you know, maybe art. I said, but I can make a picture and buy a Van Gogh. That's art, and it'll last. And I wasn't really sure that what I was going to do with Henry V was going to be art either. Listen to that noise. Listen to that. Listen. Hear that drilling?
You've got to go to the ledge, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's still on that hotel next door. He's gonna...
By the time you've potted that, they'll be finished.
No, I'll do the other.
Delaying tactics.
Ah, you know, the fellow who owns, didn't he own the Pan Am building in New York? He's bought that hotel. Now he's bought all this. He bought this block on Friday.
So he owns all this side then?
Yeah, he owns the whole
The
side.
side of the square.
Will you be kicked out?
eh?
Will you be kicked out?
Yeah, in about 7 years' time. I've written to him. I told the council he wouldn't do the scullery up.
Excuse me, did you pocket the red?
You went on the brown?
You ate the brown.
Oh, no, I see that's...
Far away.
Do you know he makes more money at snooker than acting?
So he used to make money, eh?
Not in this school, I'm
No.
saying. Where does he play? Where does he get his practice?
I used to make money at, you remember the Youngers' house near the Salisbury? In the alleyway, by the way?
Yeah.
Remember the pinball machine in there?
Yeah.
But I was, where was I? I was
You
at,
got a tilt on
what's
the
the name
table,
of it? I was at the News when I was understudying Peter O'Toole in the Long, the Short and the Tall. I used to get 18 quid a week for that and 19 quid a week off the pinball machine.
Yeah.
True. Who was the table tennis one?
Me?
Tony, you were the table tennis.
That's why you had a table tennis
champion as well, wasn't it? Terry was
I got football in the other room. I got a billiard table on a 17th century Spanish dining table.
I don't mind where you put the table tennis table, but you won't have one because I'll thrash you at it.
It's a nouveau riche room. I'm interested in having beautiful things around me. My idea of aesthetics is not necessarily everybody's, but the moment I got any money, I got paintings. And every painting I have, I love. And if I don't love them after a bit, I change them. What's this? Is the fan mail?
Fan mail here. Shall I read it to you?
Yeah,
This is from America, a girl in America.
yeah.
Dear Michael Caine, for the past few years I have been going through a period of anxiety and boredom. A feeling
Sounds like me.
feeling of only marking time and of uselessness. Having reached the age of 20, my previous turmoil is over. I know what my vocation is. I have decided to drop out of school to become a mistress because I know that any other role student, wife, career woman would not suit me at all.
That sounds like dropping in it, not dropping out of it.
Being a mistress is what's right for me. I have chosen you for my lover. I hope you will take this in the right spirit, i.e. seriously, because I am being serious. Hoping to hear from you soon, I am your friend.
She's my friend, but she
She's
wants to
your
be my
friend.
mistress. That's a good start, anyway. I knew my luck had changed.
I am a Chinese girl.
Communist or Taiwan?
Taiwan.
Taiwan, I see.
I am 17. I am as thin as Twiggy, but I am not too tall as she. I have an important thing to ask you. I really hope you can promise it. I want to be a servant to serve your parents-in-law, your mother, you and your daughter. I like England, London, and you very, very much. I want to serve you in your house. I don't want your money. I just do that willingly and willingly. Please give me this job. Let me go to England. If you don't want to employ me, please let me do a few days in your house. If you really don't want to use me, will you introduce me to another actor?
I'll be in tears in a minute. Crap. See, now, what do I do about it? Is there an address on that? No address?
No.
Got those letters.
It's a name that I can't read anymore.
Yeah. You can't even read a
Looks
name?
like Amy.
A search for financial security drives me. Inasmuch as I would like to have, for the rest of my life, the standard of living which I have extremely rapidly become accustomed to. I wouldn't like to go backward from here. If possible, I'd like to go a couple of steps forward. And so my attitude towards money is, I never cared about it. I never became an actor to make money. I never ever thought I would make money. But while people are making money through my efforts, I would like one of those people to be me, because I'm very British, fair play, cricket and all that. And if someone was making $1 million, cricket is $750,000 for me, you see? That's cricket. People turn me on. People experience emotions and feelings, and I love contact with people. I mean that in the nicest and the most sinister of ways, of course. One of my great pleasures is just to go for a walk, just walk along on my own. I'm also lazy and sybaritic, so I have a little bit of comfort just behind me in case I want to pop in. For me, my attitude when I walk back around here is not so much an attitude of coming back out of nostalgia or even for any other reason. It's coming back, I think, to re-experience the surprise that I ever went away. I'm very aware that I'm a Cockney. I'm not proud of it because I didn't do anything to become it, if you see what I mean. But I do like what I am and where I come from, and I certainly see nothing to be ashamed of in any of it.